Today is May 28th, 2013. My name is Cheryl Walker. I'm with the Illinois State Library, and I am interviewing Timothy Parker. Mr. Parker was born on 6/13/1958. Mr. Parker, can you tell us, we're interviewing Mr. Parker at the DAV Club in Effingham, Illinois. Mr. Parker, can you tell us, for the record, what branch of service you were in?
United States Air Force.
And what was your highest rank?
E6, Technical Sergeant.
Okay. When you say technical sergeant, what do you mean?
That's just the different ranks the Air Force has. An E5, in the Air Force, I'm not sure the other branch of service, but the Air Force, an E5 would have 4 stripes. That'd be a staff sergeant. An E6 would be a technical sergeant. E7 would be a master sergeant. I had 20 years in the service and 20 years and 2 days, and I had enough. So I didn't put on my next rank.
Okay, so you were in the service from December 29th, 76
Yes.
until December 31st, 86?
96.
96.
Did I write 86?
No. Okay.
Yes, 20 years and 2 days.
So you were a lifer.
Yes.
You retired.
Yes.
Okay. What was your training? What did you do?
I was an X-ray technologist for 8 years, and then I retrained into nuclear medicine at the Naval Base in Bethesda, Maryland, and I did that for the last 12 years of my career, and I've been doing nuclear medicine ever since. So I've got 20 or 30 some odd years, 30, 25, 36 years in the medical field.
Where did you take your basic training?
Basic training was at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. Then my technical school was at Shepherd Air Force Base in Wichita Falls, Texas. And then I got stationed back at Lackland Air Force Base at Wilford Hall U.S. Air Force Medical Center. It's the largest medical center the Air Force has got. And from there, I went to Florida, Patrick Air Force Base in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Spent 4 years there, and then I got cross-trained into nuclear medicine. My nuclear medicine training was at Bethesda, at the Naval Medical Center at Bethesda, and then I got stationed back in San Antonio at Lackland Air Force Base. Then I got a 2-year assignment to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. Then I got an opportunity to go to Alaska, and I jumped on that in a heartbeat. I was at Elmendorf Air Force Base in Anchorage, Alaska for 4 years. Then I retired out of Montgomery, Alabama at Maxwell Air Force Base. I retired in 1996. So I was around, but the only one, really, Army's the only one that considered Alaska overseas. So I never made it overseas. I was never in a war zone or anything along those lines. I was in during some of the conflicts, but I never made it. I volunteered for Desert Storm, but they didn't need any X-ray techs at the time, so I didn't get to go.
When you say, nuclear medicine, what actually was that field?
Now, nuclear medicine it's used to detect cancer. It's used to find fractures that you can't always find on X-ray. We can image everything in the body except the skin and the nerves. So we're looking for blood clots in the lung. We're looking for blockages in the heart, fractures in the bone or cancers of the bone, cancers of the liver, things along those lines. What we do is we inject or we give a pill form of radioactive material. By knowing what chemical form that pill or shot is in, we know where it goes in the body. So because the body traps certain portions of that radio tracer, and we put it in the body and it goes to that area so we can image the area. We're not a cancer treatment. We're a cancer detection in that, but the radiation therapy is the cancer treatment side of that. So, but I did a 1-month stint of nuclear medicine when I was an X-ray tech student at San Antonio, and I liked it a lot. And it took me 8 years to get into it. They just didn't have any openings. One of the smallest career fields the Air Force has got, and it's even smaller now because they closed a lot of bases, And a lot of bases that had it, like at Maxwell Air Force Base where I retired, they've gone to civilian practice now. They've gone to a clinic type thing, and if you need nuclear medicine, you go downtown because it's just too expensive really for these smaller hospitals and smaller clinics to keep nuclear medicine going. So, but I thoroughly enjoy nuclear medicine. I enjoy patient care. Been doing it a long time. I can't do it right now. I've been diagnosed with colorectal cancer, and my doctor said it's terminal. So I can't. I haven't worked since. Well, I broke my leg in February while bowling. I had a fracture. I had cancer in this bone and my other leg bone. Broke that one while bowling, and then they put a rod in it. Then they put another rod in the other one so it wouldn't break. But I have colorectal cancer, and I don't have much longer to live. So, doctor said 6 to 8 months. Nothing service related or anything like that. It's just came on me all of a sudden in February. I found out about
Did did you? I see that you enlisted into the service.
Yeah.
And did you decide that you wanted to join the service to become an X-ray technician, or was that something you decided after?
Well, you had to go in guaranteed job. If you go in a guaranteed job in the Air Force back in those days, if you did not get that job or 2 other jobs that you chose, you could get out. And I knew X-ray tech with healthcare, with always patients being available and that stuff. I took X-ray technologist. And then I got to the point where I, started getting a few years in and liked it a lot. And just decided that after the 10-year mark, you're working downhill anyway. So you might as well spend the other 10 and retire. So, but it was a guaranteed job. And I had gone to check in some other schools to go to school. I was going to go to Southeastern Illinois College down at Harrisburg, Illinois, for forestry. Thought I might want to work outside. Come to find out, a friend of mine, his boy, had a 4-year degree from the University of Illinois in forestry and driving a dump truck. Couldn't find a job. And I decided I'd delay enlist. They gave me 6 months before I had to go in. And it was a tough decision, to leave your friends and that stuff. And I graduated high school in May and then delayed enlist in June. It was tough, my mom and dad were very supportive and that stuff. They were a little scared at first, but I was too, being away from home the first time and that. But I got used to it and really started to like it. Military life is just like any other life, really. It depends on what career field you're in. We're not out there in the medical field. We're not out there drilling and doing combat maneuvers every week or anything like that. So we got it kind of easy in the medical field in the military. But it's like a regular job, except you wear a different uniform. But I worked at different hospitals and civilian side. You wear a uniform there too, basically. Nice dress slacks and a shirt. You wear the same thing. So it's really not a whole lot of difference. But the pay is not as good, of course, but as it is on the outside. But I don't think the pay is really an object, because I know when I retired, I made a lot more money the first year I was out than I ever did in the military. So, but I still think they ought to pay the military a little bit more money. Make it more worth their while.
When you were in Anchorage, Alaska, were you on a military base there?
Yes, Elmendorf Air Force Base in Anchorage. I worked at the hospital there. I first lived right in the quarters or in barracks right across the street. Then they moved me off base because I was a staff sergeant. And I thoroughly enjoyed Alaska. I was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base out doing field trial type things, field maneuvers. We were teaching litter carried, outdoor first aid and things like that. I was on the team. And they called me up from the hospital and said, we need somebody to go to Anchorage, Alaska with your rank. Would you be interested? I said, yes, I would. This was Friday afternoon. I said, when do I have to let you know? They said Monday morning. I was right there first thing Monday morning. I'm going. Because Alaska was just beautiful. The weather kind of sucks at times and that stuff, but the opportunities up there for fishing and hunting and skiing and everything else you want to do. I urge anybody to go up to Alaska. Take a cruise, do whatever you want to do. But it's the most beautiful place I've ever been stationed. Then I got into a little bit of culture shock, went from Alaska to Alabama. Didn't take long to say my first y'all, but I never could figure out how to put fixing to into a sentence, thank God. I hear people say that. My brother Tom lives in Tennessee, and his wife is from Tennessee. He's my twin brother, and she does the fixing too. Like today when it comes up getting ready to rain, for them it's coming up a cloud. It's funny to listen to her. I love her to death, and it's funny to listen to her. But fixing to, and y'all, we're going to go yonder, things along those lines. I still say y'all. I don't know why. But Alabama was a good assignment for me, too. I knew I had 4 years to go, and I met a lot of good people there. I was in charge of the department, and I had a good boss over in X-ray, and it wasn't super busy, and I was able to do whatever I wanted to do. And I could be home in about 7.5 hours to be up here. So I could leave on a Friday afternoon and be home late in the evening. And that was always nice. A couple times I was stationed close to my mom and dad, 3 times technically. No, twice, because I was stationed in Florida, and they were stationed, I was in Cocoa Beach at Patrick Air Force Base, and they were over in Fort Myers. Probably about a 3.5 hour drive. So I could go over on the weekends when I wanted. And then when I was in Alabama, they had moved back up here. We lived in a little town just down the road here called Hartville, Illinois. Wide spot in the road. And I moved back there in '90, so I could, and I was at Maxwell from '92 to '96, so I could come home on a long weekend or something, you know. So I was never really stationed super far from them, except in Alaska. But I wish they could have come up and seen Alaska, but they never could. Couldn't make it up.
Did you go hunting up there?
Yeah, I used to hunt moose, caribou, sandhill cranes, ducks and geese, spruce hens, grouse, ptarmigan. I just didn't do anything like bear hunt or anything like that. It's just, but I went moose hunting a couple times, never got one. But I did get a caribou, but I had to shoot a female. I was on a military base. They had a lot of problems with caribou on their runways. We were at King Salmon Air Base, out in the middle of nowhere. And they asked people that want to come up and hunt, said, "We want you to shoot some of these caribou." And the meat went to the local natives. So I shot 3 caribou for them. And nothing big, nothing bull. I would have kept the horns. It would have been an antlered bull. But they just had a lot of problems with the caribou on the runway. And they let us shoot geese at the end of the runway at Anchorage at Elmendorf. Because while I was there, a C-41 with 17 people on it went down due to goose strikes. They sucked a bunch of geese into the engines, and it flew about another 15 miles right in the side of a mountain, killed all 17 people. So after that, they let people hunt on the end. They had a siren that you could hear almost all over the flight line. And when the siren was going off, you didn't shoot because there was going to be a plane coming up. And when the siren wasn't on, they let you shoot all the geese you want really off the end of the runways and that stuff because it was such a hazard. 17 people killed. And they had bird strikes almost every week out there of different kind of birds. But I thoroughly enjoyed Alaska. The scenery, I drove up there. Took me 6 days. Just beautiful. And I drove back, took me 5 days. I pushed it a little bit on the way back, wanted to get home. I was a little homesick. But it was nice, I could come home. I'd usually come home in November for Thanksgiving because I really wouldn't have enough time with all the travel. At Christmas, I'd get like 5 days, I'd be traveling 3 of those, And so I used to come home for 2 or 3 weeks at Christmas or Thanksgiving. I could pheasant hunt while I was here. My brother Tom and John and I and my dad used pheasant hunt a lot up here. And dove season starts in a couple of 3 months, so might be able to get, if I'm in any shape to, might be able to do a little dove hunt this year.
Did you take advantage of eating any of the native food up there?
A lot of seafood, tons of seafood, and a lot of times you ate what you caught. First fish I ever caught up there was the biggest fish I ever caught in my life, a 58-pound king salmon. And it took me a long time to get him in. It made a lot of people mad because up there you have a thing called combat fishing. If there's any place you can drive and park your vehicle and then walk to a creek that has fish in it, down the bottom of those creeks there's usually holes, and the fish will come in there and they'll sit in those holes and rest. And you have someone on this side of you, and you got someone on this side of you fishing like this. And if it was done right, if it's choreographed right, everybody casts about a 45-degree angle off to the shoulder, let it bump through the hole to about a 45-degree angle on this shoulder and reel it in. And it's like a ballet if it's done right. But this fish, I never had a fish on that big, and he got on there and he went right straight down the line. Everybody was all tangled up and messed up, and it took me 15, 20 minutes to get him past there. And I finally got him in, but 58-pound king salmon. I never caught a fish that big in my life. Then I caught one bigger, caught a 66-pound halibut. We went halibut fishing one time in Homer, Alaska. We went as a hospital group, about 20 of us, went on a charter boat. But I mean, there's so many opportunities in Alaska to do hunting, fishing. And like I said, the weather's not that great in the winter. In the summertime, I teed off playing golf at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's light. It's like twilight here for like 20 minutes, and boom, the sun's right back up.
Did you have difficult sleeping during that time?
No, because I got there in September, and it was like today. It would get dark about 3:30, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock at night, so it didn't bother me. The people that came up there in like the summer months and spring months, you could always tell the new people in the dormitories, they always had tinfoil on their windows because they're not used to sleeping when it's daylight. But I got there when it was kind of normal days, so I didn't have any trouble. It was a good assignment, great assignment.
What do you think? It sounds like Alaska, but what was your favorite assignment?
I'd have to say that my first assignment in Texas, when I was in technical school, I met a really good guy that was an X-ray tech along with me, and he showed me a lot of different things, and I really enjoyed Texas. We used to hunt a lot, we used to fish a lot, and we just get in the car and drive on the weekends. Get some beer in the cooler and drive. Such beautiful scenery in Texas and that stuff. West Texas, North Texas. We'd end up 500, 600 miles away from home sometimes. Spend the night somewhere and hopefully drive back. But that was a good assignment. Then when I went back the second time, it wasn't as good. That buddy of mine had already gotten out of service, and he worked for a company that traveled a lot up in Oklahoma and that. And the city had changed. It had been 4 years since I'd been there and that stuff. That city had changed a lot more crime, a lot more ethnic changes. The place I lived in when I was there, and I rented a house and that stuff. I couldn't live there when I went back because of the ethnicity had changed in the neighborhood. It had gone to Hispanic, and you know there were certain places where you just didn't go and just didn't live really. But I like Texas and I love Alaska. I liked all my assignments really. And Washington D.C. I was up there at Bethesda, and it was nice to see all the history and that stuff. On the weekends, you could jump on the metro and go all downtown to Smithsonian and that stuff. And that was a tough school. They're basically jamming 2 years of school in 16 weeks. It's 3 or 4 tests a day. It's a tough school, and not everybody makes it. We had 8 Air Force people, and 4 of them made it. Army did a little worse. Navy did okay. But I mean, it's a tough school. A lot of things to learn. Because, you know, you're injecting or giving people radioactive material. You got to be careful with it. You got to know what to do and what to do with it when you're done and how to treat the patients and that. So, but I really enjoyed the service all 4 years, all 20 years I was in. I really never had a bad assignment. Like I said, Wright-Patterson there in Ohio, I was close to home. I could come home. I played on 2 championship flag football teams at Wright-Patterson and 1 base champion softball team. I was on 2 base championship teams in Anchorage in men's softball. And Montgomery played on a base championship team there. Played in C League and D League Nationals. They had D League Nationals at Montgomery that year. And it worked out good. We finished up 8th in the state, in the nation that year. And we got 4th in Class C. So I played a lot of sports in the military too. And there's a lot of sports opportunities in the military. You know, they have nice gyms, weight rooms, always softball teams, baseball teams, football, any sport really that they do on the outside. The military does too. You know, we're no different than anybody else on the outside. We're just on our own little base and we have to wear a uniform, you know, and that's it. But I thoroughly enjoyed the athletic programs that they had. They had really good athletic facilities because, you know, fitness is a big thing nowadays in the military. It wasn't as big as it was when I was in. But they want a nice fit force right now, you know, and that stuff. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, every assignment I had.
When you enlisted, it was in the 70s, mid 70s. And when you got out, it was in the 90s. So you saw a big change in the military.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest change was?
The opportunities, educational opportunities for one. You know, before you didn't have as much on each base. Now, unless the base was out in the middle of nowhere, every base I was at had colleges and universities. You could take courses. Either if the university or college was in that town, you could take there, or you could take them on base. And I had a friend of mine up in Anchorage, Alaska. She was an X-ray tech, but she's going to school to be a marine biologist. University of Alaska, Anchorage. Good school for that. So, you don't have to do all the training just for the military. You have the opportunity to do any training you want as long as it's offered. And nowadays, before I got out, they really never had the online stuff like they do now. But educational opportunities, advancement opportunities, I'm not sure how the ranks go now. Whether it's easier or harder to make rank, I'm not sure. But I know I've talked to quite a few people say, look, you can go into service for 4 years, get done with your technical school and your basic training and that stuff, then you can go to school. You'll have to do what the military wants you to do, but I mean, you can go to school and get your degree, an associate's degree or something to start out and then finish it out somewhere else in 4 years. You can do that. And the military will pay for most of it. And then, they would pay for stuff if I wanted to go back to school right now. They would pay for me as being a veteran. I had friends of mine years ago, they just decided, let's go back on a whim. They took some classes. They were paying them $300 to $600 a month to go to school. I said, and that was back in probably in early 80s or late 80s, early 90s. But I think educational opportunities have changed a lot since I've been in. And training, I think, has changed a lot. Equipment, facilities, you've got to make it nicer for the people nowadays. You've got to treat them right, to get them to do the right job. That's about it.
Do you think that the equal opportunity in the military has changed?
I know they were really pushing that a lot when I was in. And then they still had problems with women in combat. And I still have a little trouble with women in certain combat situations. You see a lot of women in the service nowadays over in Afghanistan, Iraq, and things like that. But they're not the frontline troops, really, in a way that I think of, the guy in the foxhole. I don't know if they ever will be. I don't know if the government will ever let them do it. But, I mean, some of those women can do just as well as a man can. And, some of the jobs that the Air Force used to have that really never were women's jobs, they started putting them in there, those jobs and that stuff, air traffic controllers, things along those lines. But I think it's changed quite a bit. Women have a bigger opportunity now in the military than they used to have before. Because you watch the news and you see them doing different jobs you never thought they'd be doing. EOD, bomb disposal, and they're driving trucks, and they're flying planes, they're flying helicopters, which never happened before.
How do you, going into the service in the 70s, mid 70s, and then coming out in the 90s, in the mid 90s, has the attitude changed toward military personnel?
I think it has. It was kind of pretty evident when I was at Wichita Falls, Texas, Shepherd Air Force Base for tech school. They really kind of hated the military. It's a big base, brings in a lot of money for that city. Because they hated the military because at that time oil was in good shape. I mean, they've had plenty of oil, money was rolling in through oil, so they forgot about the military. And then when the oil dries up or the prices go too low and they can't sell their oil, then they love the military. But I mean, a lot of the cities that I was stationed in, they supported. They supported the bases quite a bit. They were appreciative of you and that. And since Afghanistan, Iraq, and that stuff, I think the military is finally getting more of an appreciation level they should have gotten. I mean, I'm not a glory hound. I was never in war or anything like that. But it's nice when someone comes up and says, "Thank you for your service." I went out yesterday to that honor flight thing for the World War II veterans, and I thanked everyone I could find. And I had a few people thank me too. And my nephew's with me here today. He called me up yesterday and thanked me for my service. Because I think they're more appreciative. Some people feel we shouldn't be in these areas. Should never have gone to Iraq because supposedly, weapons of mass destruction were made up or whatever. I don't know about that, and I don't think anybody does. But I think the military is highly in favor nowadays because people realize how tough it is, especially if you're over in Afghanistan or Iraq or somewhere in the fighting zone. So I think that they're more appreciative of the military. Because a lot of times I think people think, well, I'm glad they're doing it and not me. That's why there's been such a big controversy over the draft and things like that. Luckily, the volunteer forces are enough to hold us over. And, eventually you might have to go back to the draft. I don't know. You look at some countries, you have to do a mandatory military service for 2 years when you turn a certain age. And there's no getting around it. But not, I don't know if they'll ever bring the draft back or not. But I think the United States appreciates its military a lot more because they know what we're sacrificing. They know what we've sacrificed. And I think, they appreciate it more because, technically, just like yesterday, Memorial Day, all these freedoms that everybody has, not just veterans, but civilians and everything else would not have been that way had it not been for the people that have gone ahead of us. The people that have given their lives for freedom and the people that serve for freedom. Like I said, I was never in any war, but I was doing my part to support war. I was in during Desert Storm and that, and we had support missions we had to run for that. So I was doing my part for that too. So and it made you feel good because you think, well, they're over there fighting. I'm just sitting back here in a weird base. But we're doing, no matter what job you got, you're supporting somebody.
Do you remember? I'm going to ask you two questions. Do you remember? It's a two-part question. Do you remember the day you enlisted?
Mm-hmm. 29th December '76. Well, I delayed enlisted, but the day I left, one of the newest bars in town called the Gabby Goat used to be the bus stop, be the post house. Took a Greyhound bus. It started snowing when we left. By the time we got to Greenville, Illinois, it was 45 miles away. There was 9 inches of snow on the ground. By the time we got to St. Louis, there was 13 inches of snow on the ground. And I remember when I went in, I was scared. I was the first time I'd really been away from home for a long period of time. They put us up in a hotel, and some of the guys figured that they would try and find some beer and get drunk. Had a guy banging on my door at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to sleep. Couldn't sleep anyway. But the next day, we went down to processing station, got our haircuts, and shots and line up here, move over there, shut up, you ding dong, get over there, pick up that luggage, put it down, and that stuff. And we spent a day in St. Louis, and then we got on the plane, went to San Antonio. And the DIs, the training instructors down there, pick your suitcase up, put it down, pick it up. They were on you right off the bat. Air Force, in my opinion, is one of the easier basic trainings. It's more physical now than it was when I was in. Because you see them down there once in a while, see pictures on the news of cadet or trainees down there and that stuff. They're doing a lot more physical stuff than I ever did. There were still things you had to have. I mean, the things you had to do, run your drills and that kind of stuff. But now it's a lot more physical. Because it seems, with the war role going on right now, they need a more physical, in shape force than they did when I was in. I was never the big athlete, and off base I was, but I was never the one to run all the time or lift weights and that kind of stuff. I just kind of worked my way through. But I was scared, and I got to Lackland. The second day we were there, I got to call home, and I was crying because I missed everybody. What have I done? All that kind of stuff. And I got a letter from my dad. Told me about all this different stuff, how he was scared, especially when we were born. And the first boy was born, my oldest brother. And then I have a twin brother, and Dad said he didn't have a good job at the time and all that stuff. He said, you're going to get scared in your life, but just hang in there. And I did. And then I spent 20 years in it and enjoyed it. Best thing I ever did. Best thing.
Do you remember the day you retired?
Yes. I went over and got my picture for my ID card. My mom and dad were there. They were living up here. They came down, had a ceremony at the hospital in the dining room and that stuff. And I got my second Air Force Commendation Medal and all the howdy do's and thank yous and all that kind of stuff. And it just felt good the final thing was to go get my picture taken for my ID. And that felt good. I said I knew I was going to miss a lot of people, miss a lifestyle, and I started new, but I didn't. I got out in October technically, because I had a lot of leave saved up, and they're temporary duty assignments you can get. They give you a certain amount of time to house hunt and things like that. So I technically got out in October, but my last day was 31st of December, and but I got that picture taken down to the base processing office, and that was it. I knew I was done, and it felt good. Come home and that stuff, and get all my stuff out, and get it in storage and that stuff, and spend some time at home. It didn't take me long to find a job. I started working at St. Anthony's Hospital here in Effingham in January '97, nuclear medicine. And I worked there for 11 and a half years, and then I've been working for the last 5 years up at Shelbyville Memorial Hospital doing nuclear medicine. But now I'm disabled basically from the cancer So I'll never work in nuclear medicine again. I do miss that because I really enjoy patient care, and that stuff.
Well, Tim, I would like to take this opportunity to